Welcome back to the Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live daily news and talk show. I'm your host, Tyler Keefe, alongside Diane Shaban. Well, a big story that broke earlier on in the week, and we talked about this earlier on in the week on the Splash Live. A fire over the weekend broke out at a home just off of Orchard Lake and Old Dominion in West Bloomfield Township. Everybody got out of that fire safe, that entire family, and one of the big credits for them getting out safely was that their smoke detectors were up to date. They worked, and they listened to them. Joining us now to talk about this fire and some of these safety measures you can take in your home is Deputy Fire Marshal for the West Bloomfield Township and Tri-City Fire Department, Dave DeBoer. Dave, thank you for being with us this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks, Tyler.
Glad to have you on. We know that this is a fairly recent fire that's happened over the weekend. It's currently under investigation, but are there any details, at least initially, that you can provide us on what happened on Sunday night and how some of these different safety measures that were taken factored into this being, in the end, a good story and not a story with a tragic end?
Yeah, a couple of good things that came from it. Right now it is under investigation. We're still trying to figure out exactly what the cause was. We know it started in the garage. And we know that there was smoke detectors at work and alerted people, and the fact that they were working gave those people enough notification, enough time to get out of the fire. It was a fast-moving fire that very quickly breached that door from the garage to the house. But the fact that they were able to get out and notify 911 and get our crews there quickly allowed us to extinguish that fire a little faster than what we otherwise would have, and it obviously got the people out safely. So right now, we don't know exactly what the cause is. It's going to take us a little bit of time. We've got to work through some issues on the investigation side, but we've also had a rash of fires here lately with the 4th of July holiday, and during that time period, we had a bunch of fires that are 100% preventable. So most of those fires involved fireworks that people had set off, and there was the canisters and the cardboard and the things that were left behind by that people are throwing into plastic trash bins without letting them cool overnight, without soaking them in water like you're supposed to. And then they put the garbage cans either near the house or even in the garage. So we had a number of garage fires and building fires because of that. So we want to remind people that, use those things the way they're intended and follow the directions for putting those out and let them sit for a while in case they do have a little ember in there glowing that can start that fire. Another fire we just recently had was somebody cooking with an outdoor cooking device, a propane-driven device, inside their garage. We say this every year. We say it over and over again. Cooking inside your garage is a bad idea. It often leads to disaster. So thankfully that one did not get too far out of control and didn't go beyond the garage, but we want to remind people that cooking in your garage, the big problem with cooking in your garage is, one, your garage isn't designed for that, but two is people go inside, and that's what happened in this one, is the person went back inside to cut up some vegetables or do some other food prep and totally forgot about their food that was out on this burner, and then realized it too late, and the fire was already going by the time they came back to the garage.
Dave, an interesting point that you made about that fire was that the family involved in that fire on Sunday night were able to contact the fire department very quickly, and your crews were then able to respond quickly. It helps that for context here, Orchard Lake Road and Dominion Road, that particular area where this fire occurred happens to be right down the street from a fire station. So that also may play a factor in that response time. But really that quick response time from the family getting in contact with emergency services, that's also a critical part in people being able to get crews out to their homes quickly, and if not save the home, then in these more severe cases, save individuals in those homes too.
Yes. Yep, the house we can replace. That somebody built that before, we can replace that. People are harder to replace. So we want people, we can't stress enough. Our guys are going to calls every day in homes and hearing smoke detectors chirp in the background and seeing smoke detectors that are older than 10 years old. Smoke detectors are the cheapest insurance you will ever buy. And you got to know that they're working. You got to have batteries in them if they're battery operated or they have battery backup. And so having those things there and able to alert you quickly, one, keeps the fire very small, two, gets us there faster, and three, gives you that ability to get out of that fire. Like I say, this fire in this garage breached the door from the garage to the house very, very quickly. Had that fire called to 911 and to our dispatchers been 2 minutes later, and that entire house would have been severely damaged. So there was still a lot of damage. It got up into the roof system, which makes it very, very tough to control without doing a lot of damage. But working smoke detectors and even working CO alarms. We don't talk enough about CO alarms, but we had 14 families last year alone in West Bloomfield saved by carbon monoxide detectors. So having working alarms in your home is key.
We'll bring it over to Diane Shaban now, who's got more information on and wants to discuss with you more about some of these safety measures that were taken in this case. Diane, take this for us and go into some of those details with Deputy Fire Marshal DeBoer.
Yes, as we said, we were talking about this yesterday, Dave, Tyler, and I, about some very specific things that we should do regarding smoke detectors, like changing the battery every year, and just making sure they are functioning. What other recommendations do you have, or guidelines do you have to home or owners regarding smoking detectors?
Okay. Yeah, changing the batteries frequently. We like to say when you change your clocks, change your batteries for the ones that have batteries in them that need to be changed. They also make them nowadays with a sealed lithium-ion battery in them that lasts 10 years. And you don't have to do the batteries every year. You just buy the thing, and then 10 years from now, it'll beep at you and tell you that it needs to be replaced, and you just replace it. So it's a little more convenient. Doesn't go off in the middle of the night beeping at you. You got to go find a 9-volt at 2 a.m. So that's another option. The biggest thing is replacing them every 10 years. Other than that, battery is replaced them. And some people, there's a myth out there that that's just a sales pitch to sell more smoke alarms. It's not. There's a component inside of those that it's a little piece of radioactive material that it loses half of its life over 10 years. So its efficiency has dropped 50% in 10 years, and then it goes down from there. So will it still work? Probably still work. But is it going to be delayed? When does it stop working? All of those factors, we don't want to risk that. Again, smoke detectors are fairly cheap, and to put that in there and pay that, it's the cheapest thing. It's less than dinner out, and you can protect your whole family.
Absolutely, that's absolutely very important. Other things is, where do you think smoke detectors should be around the house? Like, where are the key areas that these smoke detectors should be located in?
Current code says that there should be one in every bedroom, one outside of the bedrooms, in the hallway outside of any bedrooms. That doesn't mean one outside of every single bedroom, but in that hallway space, and at least one on every floor. So you want to be able to know if you sleep on the second floor of your home, you want to know if there's a fire in the basement. You want to be able to have enough time to get out. Nowadays, they make ones that are even battery operated, that are interconnected. They can talk to each other through the Wi-Fi network of your home, and they can tell you if something's going on in the basement when you're upstairs sleeping. Because the big key is, will it wake you up? We've got lots and lots of studies that show if you can't hear that thing really loud in the room with you, you're not going to wake up to that noise, because we're so inundated by so many beeps and boops and little noises nowadays with all our electronic devices that people are a little slow to wake up at times. So having them in your bedroom where it'll wake you up in the middle of the night. That's where our fire deaths are in the United States. They're in homes, and they're after 6 p.m. to before 6 a.m. Those hours are the dangerous times.
That's very interesting. See, I personally did not know that. One other thing that people do not even take care about is creating or building a safety plan for their family in case something ever happened. Now, how important is that, and how do you recommend they go about that?
It's extremely important because, again, we don't have much time. Studies have found, and we've done those studies even here in Oakland County, where we've built buildings and burned them for science. And we know with all the plastics in our home, the fires are burning faster. They're not burning hotter, but they are burning much faster. Just 35 years ago, you could survive in a home for 20 minutes in a room that there was a fire. Now it's less than 3 minutes. So you've got to be able to get out of that very, very quickly. So having a plan for that is the key. We're seeing a lot more residents in West Bloomfield that are aging in place and are seniors. And maybe they grew up without a smoke detector and they were able to get out of their house and had that time. But now that they're up in their 70s and 80s, maybe they don't move as fast as they used to. So they definitely need to have a plan to get out quickly because they move slower. They need to have a plan. If you have a young family, you need to practice that plan often and practice with your kids to have 2 ways out of every bedroom, 2 ways out of the house. And then most importantly, have a meeting place outside, whether that's a mailbox or the next door neighbor's front porch or wherever that is. The whole family has to know about it because the first thing the fire department's going to ask when we get on scene is everybody out. If everybody's out, that makes our job much different. We're going to risk a lot to save a lot. And if somebody's left behind in that building, we're going to risk a lot of our firefighters to get to that person. So if somebody's in the backyard and the people out front don't know that that person got out, which has happened to us many, many times, we're going to put guys in danger looking for somebody that's not actually in the building. So it's very important that everybody get to that meeting place and knows where that meeting place is. And it's tough with little kids. When my kids were young, we had to practice it often because little kids will change things in their minds. And one day they want it to be the tree and the next day they want it to be the mailbox. And you got to remind them that, no, we're going to this one spot so that everybody knows.
That's very interesting. And here's the thing. Do you believe that public awareness and education regarding these safety plans are important? And why I ask is because me personally and my family, we never thought about like having a fire. So we do not think about all the negative stuff. Most people, and I know that a lot of people do not think about it either. Like they just watch it on the news. Oh, it's never going to happen to us, right? So how important do you think is public awareness regarding this issue? Like it might happen to you, so you better be prepared.
It might. No matter how safe your home is, no matter how many safety precautions you take, there are things out of our control. There are devices, we're hearing a lot in the news about mobility devices with lithium-ion batteries that are catching on fire and some of the new technology that's had some issues. So you can take all the safety precautions you want, but you've got things in your home that could start a fire all on their own through no fault of your own. So you are at risk. You see a lot of people say, well, I have a newer home. So because I have a newer home, I'm less at risk. Well, that's not the case. You can have that fire no matter what. One of the things we're going to rule out in the fire that just happened over the weekend is, did the vehicle start the fire? Is some component in the vehicle that did it go bad and start the fire? So we've got to look at that a little closer and rule that out. So having that plan, thinking that you're not going to have the fire, statistically, the statistics are very low, but when you have that fire, if you have that fire, you have to have a plan. We have a saying that many of us have heard, that you don't plan to fail, but sometimes you fail to plan. And when you fail to plan, then you have to make it up on the fly. And it's very, very difficult. It's very smoky. That's not like Hollywood fires. Your visibility goes down to zero very, very quickly in a house fire. And people need to understand that, you're not able to see everything. So you have to have a plan where you can get out and know how to get out without being able to see, which is a very different challenge.
All these different things to
Absolutely.
consider when these fires are happening in one home versus another. Dave, we appreciate you joining us. We got to move on. Thank you so much for telling us more about these tips that everybody, individuals and families living in our communities, can take each and every day. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for the opportunity. We'll see you guys.
Glad to have you on. Dave DeBoer, Deputy Fire Marshal with West Bloomfield Township.